Hi, it's Chuck from Osprey, and today we're going to touch on inventory adjustment codes. Inventory adjustment codes dictate what exactly happens when an inventory adjustment is created. An inventory adjustment can be used to increment inventory, or it can be used to decrement inventory, or in some cases it can actually be used to directly set inventory. These all depend on which code is in use. As you can see here in our sample database, we have 8 different codes set up. Several of them with different operators. So we're going to look at a couple of sample ones. For example, our receivings code here. If we go into that one, the adjustment code is A, which just happens to be the code that we've assigned to it. That can be any available letter we want. We have a description which allows us to choose that from the combo box when we're creating an adjustment. Again, the description is just a descriptor for informational purposes. What actually matters is this adjustment type. In this case, it's a receiving, which means we're going to be incrementing inventory. That's an important distinction. We're not setting inventory, but rather we're incrementing it. So if I do a receivings adjustment for item 95 for a quantity of 5, I'm not setting my on-hand to 5. I'm simply adding 5 to my on-hand. As you can see, there's several different types of adjustments. Miscellaneous increase and decrease, user-defined adjustment, which we're going to come back to, transfer in and transfer out, initial load, which we'll also come back to, and receiving and damaged. Each one of these either increments or decrements. So again, a miscellaneous increase, or a transfer in, or a receiving is going to add to our inventory, whereas a miscellaneous decrease, a transfer out, or a damage is just going to decrement from our inventory. You may ask, why do we need different options? Well, for example, in the case of a transfer in or a transfer out, we're going to indicate the transferring in or out store as well. Now, I said we were going to come back to user-defined adjustment and initial load. The reason user-defined adjustment differs is the user-defined adjustment allows for both positive and negative changes within the same adjustment. Normally, for example, on a miscellaneous increase, I enter all positive values and it adds to the inventory. For a miscellaneous decrease, again, I would still add all positive values and it would decrease from the inventory. So if I had a miscellaneous increase that was a quantity of 5, I'm going to add 5 to what I currently have. If I have a miscellaneous decrease and enter the same quantity being 5, it's going to decrease by 5. There are cases where you may want to add and subtract within the same adjustment, which is where the user-defined adjustment works. So I could have a positive 5 or just 5 on item 95 to increase it by 5, and then for item 96 I can enter a negative 5, which would actually deduct 5 from my inventory. The user-defined adjustment is the only one that allows for negative input. The other unique one here is initial load. Every other adjustment type simply adjusts your on-hand up or down from the value that you have. The initial load actually directly sets your value. Some sites will use that for an initial inventory, though physical inventory is better. It's a better place to do that. But if I enter 5 for item 95 on an initial load, rather than adding 5 to it, it will directly set my on-hands to 5. So exercise caution with using an initial load. Going back to our main screen, as you can see, we have several that are the same code. So for example, my inventory receipts and my receivings both have code R. All that allows for is on your reports, maybe you want to designate certain things differently. An example might be a miscellaneous decrease. You may have one for donations. You may have a separate one for store use. They functionally do the same thing. They decrement your inventory, but it allows you to track them separately for reporting purposes and our tax purposes. So there we have inventory adjustment codes within Osprey Point of Sale.